كتابه فاضربه فيه الضحى هذا المبتدع. ويعني أنا حقيقة يعني ما يعني كنت مشجع من التحرير لكن شداني أنت لست من حزب التحرير.
So now the third Hizb at-Tahreer is speaking in the majlis, and Shaykh Albani said, are you not from Hizb at-Tahreer? And he said in the affirmative, yes, I'm from Hizb at-Tahreer. So Shaykh Albani said, you're from Hizb at-Tahreer. So Shaykh Albani said, how long have you been a Hizbi, a partisan? Then the Hizb at-Tahreer number 3 said, that's personal. So Shaykh Albani said, well, what do you mean personal? If you told me 5 years and you disbelieved, no. I'm just asking you a question. How long have you been a Hizbi? So if you said to me 10 years or whatever, you become misguided? Misguided because of the number of years. So what's the problem in asking you, how long have you been a Hizbi? And then you say to me that this is personal. So Shaykh Albani said, okay, khalas, I will take back my question. I'll take back my question. So just so long as you are a person who also wants this kind of way of discussing, take back my question. I ask you a question and you say to me it's personal. And when I asked the other one, Hizb at-Tahreer number 2, he said, that's not concerning me. When I asked him a question, Aqeedah question, a manhaj question, he said, doesn't concern me. It's not to do with me. Even though what question I asked him concerns every Muslim. And I'm asking you a question, just a nice simple question, and you say that it's personal. If you ask me, how old are you? And I say to you, oh, it's personal. What's the problem if I say my age is such and such? He said, I have my opinion. He said, no doubt, you have your opinion.
لكن أريد أن ألفت نظرك أن هذا ليس من سماحة الإسلام. أخوك المسلم يسألك منذ كم تقول هذا أمر خاص تركنا.
This is not from the good nature of Islam. Your brother is asking you a question, a general question, and you say to me it's personal. It was upon you to answer. So he replied saying that I'm a man who's a Muslim, and that's what is important.
ما دليلك فيما تقول؟ سؤال شرعي. من أطاعني فقد أطاع الله. ومن أطاعه ومن أطاع أمير فقد أطاعني. من أطاع أمير فقد أطاعني ومن أطاعني.
So then he mentioned something about the giving bay'ah to the Amir, and Shaykh Albani says, okay, what's the proof in what you say in giving bay'ah to the Amir and to the leader of the Muslims? So he said to him, the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever obeys his Amir, whoever obeys me has obeyed Allah, and whoever has obeyed his Amir has obeyed me. So Shaykh Albani said, who's the Amir then in this hadith that you have just quoted? Who's the Amir referring to? Is it just general Amir? Just a general Amir? Any Amir?
بسم الله نعتذر.
No. So that was the question, and that we reached to the end of that tape, and then the discussion comes afterwards. And just as a benefit before we move on to the next tape, the Hizb at-Tahreer, the Takfiris, the Muhajirun, all of them, and they are upon ignorance when it comes to the issue of bay'ah, because they go around quoting the hadith of the Messenger ﷺ, about bay'ah without understanding it in its true sense. So they may quote hadith of the Messenger ﷺ that whoever dies and he does not have a leader, yani an imam or an emir, then he dies a death of ignorance, a death of jahiliyyah. And by that they refer to their amirs, yani their particular amir of the jama'ah, amir of their group. As we know from the Jama'at al-Muslimin in Slough, they used to do that. They would apply those ahadith on bay'ah for their amir. And likewise, the other takfiri groups would apply this hadith for their amir. Now, and some of them would also implement, we know even in Slough, would implement punishment, penal codes in their own house, because they think that they are the one who are supposed to be the amir, the leader of the Muslims. So they quote this hadith to make the people scared, and also to subjugate the people into believing that they are the ones who should be given the bay'ah, not the leader of the Muslims in a Muslim country who has a kingdom, yani, and he is the one that the Muslims give bay'ah to, yani, meaning as-sam' wa ta'a, hearing and obeying. And Shaykh Ubaid al-Jabri hafidhullah, from the scholars of Medina, he mentioned that whoever separates the bay'ah from the ta'a, from the sam' wa ta'a, then he has innovated. Because what does bay'ah refer to? It refers to yani hearing and obeying the amir, yani in the righteous matters, as the Messenger ﷺ said, at-ta'atu fil ma'ruf, that the obedience is in the righteous matters. But these individuals living in the land of disbelievers, they would like that bay'ah to be for them. And they quote that hadith, whoever dies and he dies not having a leader, that he dies a death of ignorance. Not giving bay'ah to a leader, then he dies a death of ignorance. They imply that this hadith refers to their own imam, being the imam of all the Muslims, and that if we don't give the bay'ah, then we are sinful. So each and every takfiri group has their own Amir al-Mu'mineen. Neither do they recognize each other, and at times make takfir of each other. In replying to Ishaq ibn Ibrahim ibn Hani with regards the meaning of this hadith, Imam Ahmad rahimahullah said, "Do you know who is the Imam? He is the one whom all the Muslims unite upon. This is the Imam, and this is its meaning." This you will find in Masail ibn Hani, number 2011, cited in page 9 and 10 of Nasihat al-Dhahabiyya ila Jama'at al-Islamiyya, ila Jama'at al-Islamiyya, fatwa fi at-ta'a wal-bay'ah of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, published by Dar al-Raya, 1410 Hijri, 1990 Christian calendar. So here we find that this is the explanation of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah with regards who the Imam is. It is not somebody living on on the streets in Slough, or on the streets in the kuffar lands, in the disbelieving lands, and each one is claiming bay'ah for themselves. But rather, as Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he said, it refers to the one that the Muslims unite upon, yani in that Muslim country that they unite upon. As you can see, neither do all the Muslims unite upon the takfiri groups here, like Abu Isa, who claim to be the Amir al-Mu'mineen, nor do they unite upon him being the Amir al-Mu'mineen. And Al-Kathiri said in Fayd al-Bari, in chapter 4, page 59, know that the hadith is to be understood that it refers to most of the main Muslim body, yani giving bay'ah to the Imam. So if one person gives bay'ah to him, or two or three, then it is not to be considered an Imam. He is not to be considered an Imam, so long as the majority of the main Muslim body did not give the bay'ah, the allegiance or the people of authority did not give him bay'ah. Cited again in the same book that we quoted earlier. And the great scholar Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, who died 728 Hijriya, he said, it is not allowed for any of the teachers to take from anyone an oath to agree to him upon everything that he wants, to love those whom his teacher loves, and to hate those his teacher hates. Rather, the one who does that from them, then he is similar to Genghis Khan and his likes. Those who make anyone that follows them a close friend, and those who oppose them a tyrannical enemy, rather upon them and their followers is to stick to the oath of Allah by obeying Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they do not do what Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they do what Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered them with, that they forbid what Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbade them with. This is Majmu' Fatawa, volume 16, page 27. So it's not for anyone to claim oath of allegiance, that you love and hate according to what he loves and what he hates. Not for anyone to do that. Imam al-Suyuti rahimahullah, he said, he was asked concerning a man from the Sufis who took an oath from a man, but then he chose another sheikh to give his oath to, to give his bay'ah to. So does the first oath become incumbent or the second? So he rahimahullah said, neither the first nor the second oath becomes incumbent. And there is no basis for this. This is quoted from Risalatan fi Radd ala Ahl Bid'ah wal Ahwa. So the Takfiris act just like the Sufis by making for themselves a leader for all the Muslims, loving what he loves and hating what he hates. Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah, he refuted them. And he replies, as for the Islamic groups which have split up the Muslims, divided their unity and weakened their strength, then it is more in need of being refuted than giving it bay'ah. It has previously been mentioned that the splitting of Muslims into groups is considered to be an innovation from the innovation of these times. So bay'ah to these groups is an innovation. One may say that Allah says in the Qur'an regarding the verse, those who give you the bay'ah, they actually give bay'ah to Allah. So how can we say that bay'ah is an innovation? So Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah said, this bay'ah is for the Prophet ﷺ and the Imam who is from Quraysh. As the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever dies without making a pledge of allegiance dies a death of ignorance. And this is in Sahih Muslim on the authority of Ibn Umar. So this bay'ah is for the Imam who is from Quraysh or other than Quraysh, who took it by force and the affairs become stable and orderly for him, as a way of protecting the blood of the Muslims. And this is similar to what Imam Ahmad rahimahullah said in Usul al-Sunnah. Whether by force or he is given it by the people choosing him to be the best of the people. This is exactly what Imam Ahmad rahimahullah said. So the way out of it is, if they have taken an oath from you, then you make an expiation for it, because the Prophet said, whoever makes an oath and sees other than it which is better, then let him come out, or let him come to that which is better and expiate for that oath. Hadith in Sahih Muslim reported by Abu Hurairah. And if they didn't take from you an oath, then it is considered nonsense. As Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah said, because the Prophet said, whoever introduces into our affairs that which we have not brought, then it is rejected. Hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. So what is required to refute the one who calls to it, not the one who has freed himself from it. So one says that the Prophet says, if 3 people go out on a journey, then let them make one in charge of them. Let one be the Amir. How do we understand this hadith? Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah, he said, the answer is that it is limited to traveling. So the bay'ah to the leaders of the Islamic groups is considered an innovation from the innovations of these times. So, and Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah, he asks, so did Sa'id ibn Musayyib radiallahu anhu, when he was beaten, call for bay'ah? Did Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu call for bay'ah when Hajjaj sought to humiliate him and strangle him? Did Imam Malik call for bay'ah when he was beaten? Did Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah and Imam Malik rahimahullah before, did he call for it when he was driven out of Naysabur? And did many of our scholars call for bay'ah when they were beaten, imprisoned and punished? And we know that Imam Ahmad rahimahullah was punished by 3 leaders and neither did he, and even they had a statement of kufr, saying that the Qur'an is created, and neither did he make takfir of them, nor did he go out against them with his tongue and sword, and neither did he, Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, call for bay'ah for himself. So this is mentioned by Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah in his in questions and answers that were regarding the issue of iman and takfir on page 71. As'ila Yamaniyya fi Masail al-Iman wa takfir. So look how beautiful these words are from Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah. So it is upon the takfir is to return back to the Qur'an and the Sunnah in the understanding of the pious predecessors. And with this, alhamdulillah, the issue of bay'ah is clear. And Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah continues, and he says, and I challenge them, meaning the takfiris, whether they be from Egypt, Sudan, Yemen, Kuwait or Algeria. And we can also add Britain, because we know there are many here. And they bring one scholar from amongst them. Allahu Akbar. That they bring one scholar from amongst them. And they say that they are concerned that they be amongst them as scholar. We seek refuge in Allah that others accept your claim to be scholars, he says. And in reality, they will be like the dogs of the hellfire on the Day of Judgment. Because the Khawarij, their trait is what? That they go out against the rulers with their tongue and swords. This is their trait. And they call Muslims kuffar. For the Khawarij killed Ali radiallahu anhu, and they also fought and killed, they went out to kill Uthman radiallahu anhu. And Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah continues, he says, and they will leave the religion just as the arrow enters the game. From the hadith, يَمْرُقُونَ مِنَ الدِّينِ كَمَا تَمْرُقُ السَّهْمُ مِنَ الرَّمِيَّةِ. So it is upon the society, he says, to be warned from you, takfiris, and that they also warn against you, takfiris. And I am amazed, for they accuse the callers to Allah and the Muslims of being disbelievers, yet they become instruments for the governments to strike at the calls to Allah. And if you say to one of these takfiris, whether he is Hizb at-Tahreer or Muhajirun or Jama'at al-Jihad al-Takfir, what is your proof for raising your hands in the prayer? He says, I don't know. And you say to them, what is your proof for prostrating upon the 7 limbs in the prayer? He says, I don't know. Then after that, he puts himself forward to call Muslims disbelievers, takfir. So just wait, O ignorant youths from the takfiris, how you put yourselves forward to make takfir of the Muslims, for with this action of yours, you please the eyes of the secularists, the Ba'athis, and the Nasiriyin and the governments, rather the eyes of the enemies of Islam. You split up the unity of the Muslims. This is mentioned by Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah in his Refutation of Jama'at al-Takfir, page 92. Now, so we go back now, inshallah, to Shaykh Albani rahimahullah's discussion. Pause.
فأنا أسألك الآن هل في الحزب التحرير في اتجاه للسلفية في ذهنك؟
So Shaykh Albani rahimahullah is asking the question, Hizb at-Tahreer, do they have a direction towards Salafiyya? يعني in their direction. So the Hizb at-Tahreer number 3 said, I'm going to answer. With detail. I'm going to answer with detail. So Shaykh Albani said, no, I want you to answer with ikhtisar first and then bring detail. نعم اختصار ثم التفصيل.
يعني أمين بدي أقول لك خليني أكمل يا أخي ما بتوافق على كلمة سواء بارك الله فيك هذه اللمبة مطفأة ولا شعري طيب ما في هيك جواب في المسائل العلمية يا رجل فيني مثلا قل لي هل حزب التحرير بدأ يميل إلى السلفية بالمعنى الذي أنت هو في ذهنك.
So Shaykh Albani Allah يعني he's saying to him, look, just answer the question, is Hizb at-Tahreer going towards, are they swaying towards Salafiyah, in your understanding of that? Yes or no? So one said, I would like to speak here.
معليش بس الأستاذ بده نمشي
So he said yes. The answer, he said yes. And even someone in the background said, Ya Shaykh, oh Shaykh, he said na'am, he said yes. That Hizb at-Tahreer is swaying towards Salafiyah. And then one of them said mutaraddid, I'm not really sure.
هو يقول انه اساس اخذي للامور انا باخذ من الكتاب والسنه ابسط هذا.
So one of them is saying that the Hizb at-Tahreer number 3 is saying that we go back to the Qur'an and the Sunnah in the affairs. And this is what the Hizb at-Tahreer go back to as a foundation.
يا شيخ سؤال، هل هناك طائفة من المسلمين من الفرق من يوم المعتزلة اليوم؟
Shaykh Albani said, there's a question. Is there any group, from the early groups till now, from the Hizb, from Mu'tazila time till now, from those groups then till now, that we don't take from the book and the Sunnah? Is there any group that doesn't say that anyway? I hope your answer is how we expect it. I hope that your question is yes, there is a group that says that.
هناك طائفة من المسلمين يصلون ويصومون ويحجون مع ذلك يقولون نحن ليس مرجعنا الكتاب والسنة. هل تدري في المسلمين مثل هذا؟ لعلك تجيب مرة واحدة نعم أو لا.
I hope your answer once and for all that you say is either yes or no, that there is a group out there from the time, from amongst the Muslims, from the early times, that says we don't take the Qur'an and the Sunnah as our basis. Is there a group like that? I hope your answer is either yes or no. Shaykh Albani, when he didn't get an answer from the individual, he said the reality, truly you are a Hizbi, you are a partisan person. Because I know the partisan people, they're like this. So then the Hizb at-Tahreer number 3 says, let me speak, اسمح لي, excuse me. He said, Shaykh Albani said, no, I'm not excuse you. Until you strengthen your methodology in how you speak.
هل يوجد في كل هذه الطوائف الإسلامية قديمها وحديثها وهم يصلون ويصومون كأمثالنا، هل تعلم فيهم من يقول ليس مرجعنا الكتاب والسنة؟ إذا سألتك فأجبتني بنعم أو لا، ما هو المزاق الذي تخشاه أن تصيب؟
So if I ask you this question, is there a group that doesn't say the Qur'an and Sunnah as being their foundation? If you said yes or no, there is a group or there isn't a group like that, what is it that you fear from this answer? Shaykh Albani said this is the jadal, the argumentation.
رأيت كيف حزب التحرير؟ أنا عشت مع حزب التحرير هناك 30 سنة.
Sheikh Albani says, I have lived with Hizb at-Tahreer in over there, he's referring to Syria, for 30 years. He said, you don't know Hizb at-Tahreer. I'm the one who knows Hizb at-Tahreer. And this is their manner in how they answer questions, يعني they argue. One of us, we ask questions and you have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it without getting a clear answer. Then the Hizb at-Tahrir number 3 said, excuse me, I want to answer, يعني he's trying to get in. So Shaykh Albani said, I know you now, that your manner in how you speak is clearly showing me that you are a Hizb at-Tahriri. What is the thing that you fear in saying to me there's no other group? No group on the face of the earth would say that we don't follow يعني the Qur'an and Sunnah, يعني the groups from amongst the Muslims. No one will say that. So the Hizb at-Tahrir number 3 said, this is not the actual subject that we are speaking about. ليس موضوعنا يعني. And he's got another موضوع, a specific topic to talk about. So Shaykh Albani said, may Allah guide you. He said, I will not excuse you. So the Hizb at-Tahrir number 3 said, I've got a point. When I ask him a question, Shaykh Albani rahimahullah says, when I ask him a question, he says, it's not my subject. It's not our subject. So what is our subject then? What is it that we've been speaking about?
بس في نقطة والله يا شيخ بالله لو سمحت لي أنا أحببت من الشيخ إنه حقيقة في كان يعني في ذهني صورة عن الشيخ يعني حقيقة إنه يعني ما دام إنه في حركات إسلامية في الواقع تعيش وتعمل.
So the Hizb at-Tahrir number 3 says, look, ya Sheikh, look, so long as there are Muslim groups present. And we know also there are plots and plans in order to get the Muslims to fight against each other. So this will be a way of aiding the disbelievers, that the Muslims end up fighting each other in this manner. So Shaykh Albani said, "Anza walau tarat." This is referring to the a wise saying that the Arabs say, where there were two men walking towards a bird, and they were discussing: is that bird a peacock, or is that bird not a peacock, a bird that flies? So they were discussing. One of them said it's a peacock, and the other one said no, it's a bird that flies. So when they got to it, it flew. The one who said it was a peacock, he was still stubborn to say even if it flew, it's still a peacock. So this is the way of the Islamic groups. Even though you show them the truth, they still persistent upon their stubbornness in not accepting the truth.
أنت لو شهدت على نفسك ما لك حزبي ما أستطيع أن أصدق.
Shaykh Albani then said to the Hizb at-Tahrir number 3 that if you were to testify that you're not a Hizb at-Tahriri, then I would not believe you. Then everybody's thinking about that answer. What does he mean? Then they all realize what it means. That even if he said, I'm not a Hizb at-Tahriri, Shaykh Albani said, I will not believe you. Meaning you are.
بس أنا عم أقول لك لو شهدت على نفسك أنك لست حزبيا ما عندي استعداد أن أصدق بهذا الكلام لأنك حزبي مر.
Why? Because you are a Hizbi mur, a Hizbi that is bitter. You're a bitter partisan person.
لأنك لا تجيب عن جواب.
Because you don't answer the question I ask you.
ليس فيه زحلقة ولا.
You don't even answer a question that is without any slippery outcome. It's an easy question.
ليس فيه انتظار ولا. هذا تريد النقاش يا رجل. تريد النقاش أنا غيري جناه وأنا المعذب فيه فكأنني سبابة متندمين.
So Shaykh Albani did mention some lines of poetry where he says that why is it that I am being tortured or being going through difficulty in front of you? Why is it? And it may be that I gave you the opportunity for that, and so that's why I regret. That's why I regret.
الذي يمنعك أن تجيب عن سؤال يلقى على مسامعك أول مرة وثاني مرة وثالث مرة.
So what is the problem that I ask you a question first, second, third time and you don't even answer? And fourth time and into the morning I ask you a question and you don't even answer.
وأنت لا تجيب. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر.
تفضل يا أخي معلش. خلاص يئسنا.
أنا أريد أن أسأل لكن قبل ذلك لعل الشيخ عبد الفتاح.
Then Shaykh Albani رحمه الله said we had enough خلاص.
هو أثناء التعبير حزب التحرير لم يتجه إلى السلفية بالمعنى الدارج.
Now we have the next Hizb at-Tahreer. He said, I want to answer your initial question. Did Hizb at-Tahreer sway towards the Salafiyah? Is it swaying towards Salafiyah? So he said, no, it is not swaying towards Salafiyah. So remember the first one of them said, it is. One of them said, he's confused, he doesn't know if it's right, or if it is not. Now this other one is saying that it's not swaying towards Salafiyah. So amongst them they are divided.
ولد أيدي لم يتجه. لا أريد أن أقول أمين نايف لم يتجه الشيخ أساء التعبير في أمين نايف. أنا أقول لك أمين نايف شو أمين نايف تعمق في الاعتزال فأصبح يرى حزب التحرير سلفيا. حزب التحرير واقعه كما هو.
إيه بس عبد الفتاح ما قال.
Then he's referring to somebody called Amir Naif amongst them, that he wasn't correct in his ta'bir, in the way he said something, in the manner in what he said, and that that they sway towards the Mu'tazila in their belief. I'm just going to rewind it just a little bit, just to hear that exactly as it is, so that's a trust.
فكأنني سبابة متندمين. ما الذي يمنعك أن تجيب عن سؤال يلقى على مسامعك أول مرة وثاني مرة وثالث مرة ورابع مرة وإلى الصباح وأنت لا تجيب. الله أكبر. تفضل يا أخي معلش. خلاص يئسنا.
أنا أريد أن أسأل لكن قبل ذلك لعل الشيخ عبد الفتاح هو أثناء التعبير.
So actually this next Hizb at-Tahreer is saying it may be that Abdul Fattah didn't actually answer with a good ta'bir, a good way of saying that answer. And then he says that Hizb at-Tahreer did not sway or go in the direction of Salafiyah.
ولد أيدي لم يتجه. لا أريد أن أقول أمين نايف لم يتجه. الشيخ أساء التعبير في أمين نايف. أنا أقول لك أمين نايف شو أمين نايف تعمق في الاعتزال فأصبح.
So that is referring to someone called Amir Naif, that he actually was so subdued in i'tizal, the way of the Mu'tazila, in actually using the intellect. That's what it means, that they use the intellect to accept or reject narrations. And not only that, to accept and reject also the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
يرى حزب التحرير سلفيا.
So as for that individual, then he sees Hizb at-Tahreer swaying towards Salafiyah. Or he sees it as being Salafiyah, as being the way.
التحرير واقعه كما هو. إيه بس عبد الفتاح ما قال وفهم كلام الشيخ عبد الفتاح إنه حزب التحرير في نظر أمين نايف بدأ يتجه إلى هذا هو كلامه. لا.
So it looks like the Amir Naif they're referring to is Abu Yasir, because now this Hizb at-Tahrir is saying that Abdul Fattah, in how he answered from the position of Abu Yasir, is that Hizb at-Tahrir is Salafiyah. So this other Hizb at-Tahrir disagreeing with that. So amongst them you find that they disagree. You see that you think that they are one. وقلوبهم شتى تحسبهم جميعا وقلوبهم شتى.
لا الحقيقة أمنا يا أستاذ أنت يقول إيش؟ أنت يقول يقول لك الحذر يقول أبو إياه عبد الكريم زلجور أستاذ هكذا يقول أمين نايف. الشيخ تقي فشل في تربيته، طلع لي عبد القديم زلوم وابو اياد، هذول ما عمل هذا الشيخ، حتى في اللي بوافقين على الشيخ تقي، لانه الشيخ تقي مثل موقفه من المعتزال معروف، يرفض الاعتزال، يرفض الفلاسفه، ما يسمى بالفلسفه الاسلاميه، فهو ولذلك هو يختلف مع الشيخ تقي في هذه القضايا كلها. لكن استاذ الحقيقه الذي اريد ان اقوله ما دام اجتمعنا في هذا المجلس معليش بس بدي افهم.
So there's another interjector who said that actually Abu Yasir is actually going against even his teacher, Taqiyuddin al-Hilali, Taqiyuddin al-Nabhani, the founder of Hizb at-Tahrir, because Taqiyuddin al-Nabhani, himself differs on the issues of i'tizal with Abu Yasir. So, he's just basically interjecting, saying that there's slight differences. But anyway, that's not important in this discussion. What's important is sticking to what these particular individuals are saying, for they are the ones that we are they are the ones that are discussing with Shaykh Albani rahimahullah, which clearly shows us they can't even answer those basic questions regarding issues of methodology and iman.
أنا هكذا كنت أعتقد، لكن أحب أن أسأل لأنه الحقيقة أنا لما سمعت بهذه الجلسة أحببت أن أسمع الرد من الشيخ ولأنه هناك بعض القضايا طرحها هذا الرجل وبدأ للأسف ينتشر في الوسط الإسلامي للأسف، وهو لا شك في انتشاره يستغل ويستثمر خلاء أو خلو الساحة من أهل العلم الذين ينشرون المنهج الصحيح، فكان لابد من هذه المناظرة وهذه الجلسة الحقيقة ليتها تمت
Anyway, this individual is just saying that we hope that this discussion had taken place with yourself, Shaykh Albani rahimahullah, and also with Abu Yasir, because a lot of his Abu Yasir's thoughts and ideas and methodologies has actually become widespread. So we wanted to hear some of those answers, but unfortunately he said he didn't, the discussion didn't go ahead. And if only it went ahead. And Shaykh Albani said, if only.
الرجل دائما يدندن حول قضايا منهج الفهم. كما تفضلت الكل يدعي أنه يأخذ بالكتاب والسنة حتى المعتزلة.
So this interjector, he said that no doubt this individual is no doubt, he says that everybody claims the Qur'an and Sunnah. Everybody claims to follow the Qur'an and Sunnah, as you have mentioned, Shaykh Albani rahimahullah, that everybody is claiming this.
يقول بهذا الكلام، يقول بأنه يأخذ لكنه لم يجب عنادا وهذا الذي يجب أن يعرف.
And unfortunately this Abu Yasir did not answer due to inad, due to being basically stubborn in not answering. He says all he had to do was say, I accept that the Quran and Sunnah is that we'll go back to, because every Muslim says that. And نعم.
صاحبنا الذي يتعلق بمنهج كل طائفة تدعي هذه الدعوة.
So Shaykh Albani reiterated and said, yes, all groups they claim to follow the Quran and Sunnah. So what is the difference then? Then the individual said the difference is in understanding.
أن
النقل أم العقل في فهم النصوص؟
نعم.
قضايا تتعلق بمناهج الاستدلال يعني ومناهج الفهم عن الله سبحانه وتعالى.
نعم.
هذه القضية المشكلة اللي عنده.
So the problem that he has, meaning this individual who you were debating first in the beginning, Abu Yasir, the Hizb at-Tahreer number 1, is the issue of understanding the text. And you have to understand the text.
ما على رأسها قضية العقل والنقل كما تعلم.
And at the head of it, or the pivot of it, is the issue of al-aql wal-naql, يعني intellect and the text.
والقضايا التي يعني زاد البحث فيها هو أو يعني يتعمق أكثر فيها قضية الآن هو ينتج منهج علم الحديث وضوابط علم الحديث عند أهل.
So the thing that this Abu Yasir has researched and is that he came to the conclusion that he negates the knowledge of the science of hadith, the ilm al-hadith.
السنة والجماعة. يعني حتى كما قال الشيخ عبد الفتاح إنه 95% من أحاديث البخاري كذب.
For example, from his statements, as he said to Abdul Fattah, that 95% of the ahadith in Bukhari are lies.
وشو رأيك ممكن البحث مع هيك إنسان؟
So Shaykh Albani says, what do you think? What's your opinion? Can anyone discuss with this type of person, يعني who rejects 95% of the hadith in Bukhari?
قبل ما نضع القواعد والأسس التي عليها يمكن أن نمشي.
Do you think that we can discuss and move forward with this type of individual before actually establishing principles for our discussion?
لو أنا كنت مكانه
يمكن
لا يمكن.
So the interjector said, no, it's not possible. So Shaykh Albani said, you see, طيب.
لكن هو
لذلك مسألة بسيطة ما رضي يمشي معنا.
So simple question, simple point we put forward to him. He didn't want to يعني follow suit.
أولا من حيث المبدأ فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله ورسوله قال هذا مش موضوعنا.
So when I said to him the verse فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول, if you differ amongst yourselves then take it back to Allah and His Messenger, he was not prepared to answer.
ثانيا أسلوب المناقشة كما نقول مع أبو محمد وغيره يا أخي بسألك هذا يجوز عندك أم لا يجوز.
And also the manner in how you discuss. If I'm asking you, is this allowed or not allowed, then answer with a simple answer.
أعمل عليها محاضرة.
Not actually bring a lecture regarding it.
وأنا أعرف أساليب هؤلاء الناس.
And I know the manner of these individuals and how they discuss, their manner, their usloob.
محاضرة هي أهل المجلس أكثرهم ضاعوا ولا فهموا ما هو الجواب. أنا قد أفهم الجواب لكن أنا أريد أن يقدم اللغة.
Many of them you find in this majlis, يعني when we gave them a question, they became lost. And what would be the answer to this question? A simple question.
رأسا يقول هذا يجوز عندي هذا لا يجوز عندي هذا صواب عندي هذا مو صواب عندي.
So if simply the answer, this is correct in my view, this is not correct in my view, this is يعني the correct position, this is not the correct position, simple.
بعدين اشرح ما شئت.
Then you can bring your detailed explanation as to either of the two answers you give.
إذا هالنقطة هي بسيطة جدا جدا ما هو يوافق عليها.
So this simple point he wasn't able to even answer.
معناه هو مثبت حاله بده يمشي أولا في الأسلوب اللي هو ماشي عليه ثم في الغاية التي هو يتبناها. يعني هو
He wants to go in the manner in what he began with, building upon that particular manner.
ليس عنده استعداد إنه يغير لا من أسلوبه ولا.
So this particular person doesn't have the ability into changing his manner and the way in how he discusses.
من عقيدته. إذا ما هيك بيكون فائدة الاجتماع واللقاء. لابد ما إيش يصير في أخذ وعطاء في نقط أساسية. هذا نحن إذا اجتمعنا مع يهودي أو نصراني نقدر نقول له إنه نحن يجب أن نضع قاعدة فإذا تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله ورسوله. طبعا لا قبل ذلك.
So for example, if we met a Jewish or a Christian person, do we begin with them from this verse? Yani, if you differ amongst yourselves, then take it back to Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam? No, we would not start with this verse. What he means here is we will start with something else that we need, that we will address them with, such that they can agree, and then we'll bring them slowly through the discussion. Because before this is many things that we have to discuss with them before we even get here.
أنا مسلم وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمد رسول الله ويؤمن بآيات الله وفيها وأنزلنا.
So, as a Muslim, you believe in the verses in the Qur'an, and in it there are verses such as that indeed we have revealed to you the remembrance, that you may clarify to the people what has been revealed to them. That particular verse.
فنحن نفهم مع جمهور علماء المسلمين أن هذه الآية فيها شيء، فيها مبين وفيها مبين.
So we understand that as most of the scholars, they clarify that this verse has part of it is that which clarifies, and the other part is that which is clarified.
أنزلنا إليك الذكر هو القرآن.
So we have sent down the dhikra, which is the Qur'an,
وهو المبين لتبين للناس ما نزل،
which is the thing that is clarified, and which is the one that is clarified. As for the one who's clarifying it is the next part of the verse, ما نزل إليهم لتبين للناس ما نزل إليهم, is the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
وهو السنة.
يعني his sunnah clarifying the Qur'an.
نتصور أن هذا الإنسان معنا في هذا المبدأ. أما إذا لم.
So if a person is with us in this beginning, agreeing with us in this, then alhamdulillah.
يكون معنا. لهذا كان المفروض أن ننطلق من نقطتين، إحداهما غاية وعقيدة بين كل المسلمين والأخرى أسلوب.
So we needed to have that agreement with from two angles. In terms of the aqidah, as we take everything back to the Qur'an and the Sunnah. And the second, we needed to agree upon a manner in how to speak and how to discuss.
الغاية يجب أن يكون متفق عليها ضرورة كون المجتمعين مسلمين، وهي فإن تنازعتم في شيء الأسلوب ممكن يصير فيه اتفاق ممكن لا، لكن لما أنا برجع بقول أخونا محمد اللي شرف معرفته الآن، لماذا الواحد منكم بيثبت حاله كأنه مصبوب الباطون لا يحيد أبدا، ما بيجاوب عن مسألة واضحة كالشمس ربع النهار.
So, as you've seen from the discussion, Sheikh said that he did not even answer a simple question that is clearer than the sun in the daytime.
في طائفة من المسلمين تقول نحن لا نؤمن بالكتاب والسنة.
Is there a group from amongst the Muslims that says we don't believe in the book and the Sunnah?
قلت أنت آنفا لا أعلم.
You said before, I don't know.
أكذلك؟
Isn't that so?
ما بيقدر يقول.
See, look, you don't answer in. You start going away from the answer. I'm asking you a question. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Subhanallah.
Subhanallah. How is Allah from imperfection? Subhanallah. Allahu Akbar. So Shaykh Albani rahimahullah is laughing now. And he's asking this other Hizb at-Tahreer a question, but he's not answering.
لا تعلم كيف يعني لا توجد يعني حتى مش نعم لا توجد يعني الناس يقول عن المسلمين لا ينتسبوا الى الكتاب والسنه.
لماذا لا تجيب؟
So the Hizb at-Tahreer number 3, the one who initially was discussing with, he said, well, is there a group that doesn't say the Qur'an and Sunnah? Meaning all of them say it. So Shaykh Albani said, why didn't you answer then? So why didn't you answer then? He said, I've replied to you. Yani I've answered you. He said, yeah, now you have. He says, Alhamdulillah, now you have reached the answer.
الآن مدام كل الطوائف تدعي الانتساب إلى الكتاب والسنة.
So therefore, now we agreed. Now all the groups, they all claim to follow the Qur'an and the Sunnah,
تؤمن بالآية السابقة.
and they believe in the previous verse which we have mentioned.
هكذلك.
Isn't that so? He said, yes, that's so.
الآن يرد سؤال ثاني.
Now we have a second question.
واقعيا فيما تعلم أنت هم كذلك كلهم أم
Yani the true reality of the affair of all these groups, are they truly upon the Qur'an and Sunnah? Forget about the claim now. Shaykh is saying now, the true reality of these groups, are they upon the Qur'an and Sunnah in reality?
بعضهم.
All of them or some of them?
مش كلهم.
He said not all of them.
إذن بعضهم.
So therefore you mean some of them.
نعم.
He said yes, he said yes.
ما هو الحكم الفصل بين كل هذه الطوائف التي كلها تدعي أن ترجع إلى الكتاب والسنة؟
So what is the criterion, the fasl, yani the judge in knowing which one is claiming truly to follow Qur'an and Sunnah and which one isn't? He said the madhar, yani the reality of the situation.
المظهر انه انا ما دام انه اقول انه الكتاب والسنه هو المرجع اللي عندي فيظهر علي من خلال التزامي بالكتاب والسنه ورجوعي للكتاب والسنه انه انا ملتزم او غير ملتزم. جميل جدا.
So Hizbut-Tahrir number 3, he said that, yani according to the apparent outlook of the person, if he truly truly follows the Qur'an and Sunnah, then he has actually fulfilled that claim of following the Qur'an and Sunnah. So Shaykh Albani rahimahullah said, جميل جدا.
الرجوع إلى الكتاب والسنة فهما أن السنة عقيدة هذا ما في خلاف بين المسلمين صح؟ في خلاف الآن بين المسلمين فهما لهذين المصدرين كتابا وسنة أم لا؟
Then he asked him another question. Is there any difference of opinion in terms of, is there differences between these groups who all say we follow Qur'an and Sunnah? Is there differences with their understanding of the Qur'an and Sunnah? So the questioner said, well, in terms of the reference that they go back to, or in terms of the meaning? Shaykh Albani says, may Allah guide you. I've already limited the question to what I asked.
قلنا بعد أن اتفقنا أن كل المسلمين على ما بينهم من اختلاف في العقيدة في الأحكام إلى آخره كلهم يقولون كمصدر هو الكتاب والسنة.
So I've already explained to you, may Allah guide you, that all of these groups as a reference they say we go back to the Quran and the Sunnah. Whether it be in Aqidah, in Ahkam, in rules and regulations. But the question I'm asking you now is,
هل يختلفون في فهم هذين المصدرين؟
do they differ with regards the understanding of these two references?
أم لا؟
Or not?
يعني المسلمين يعني يعتبروا يعني في الأخذ الشرعي أو الطوائف الإسلامية تعتبر في الأخذ الشرعي إنه الأصل تأخذ من الكتاب كمصدر أساس الكتاب والسنة.
Then he's going long way. You mean the Muslims, the ones who differ, is repeating now the question. So Shaykh Albani rahimahullah said, may Allah guide you.
في موضوع لكن موضوع النصوص الواردة خلينا دقيق والله النصوص الواردة في الكتاب والسنة في موضوع الآيات اللي في موضوع التشابه يا شيخ ريح حالك الله يهديك.
So Shaykh Albani said, oh, just rest yourself, may Allah guide you.
ريح حالك.
Rest yourself.
ريح حالك.
Rest yourself. Just an answer, short answer. Make your situation easy. Rest yourself. With one word, with one answer. Instead of going so far away in answering a simple question.
المصدر طبيعي مسلم لكن نصوص الكتاب والسنة يختلف في بعض الأمور طبيعي في غير المحكم من القرآن طبيعي نعم في غير المحكم من القرآن طبيعي.
So the man said in other than that which is muhkam, meaning in those verses that are clear in the Quran, in other than that, yes, they differed in the other verses that are considered to be unclear.
غير المحكم من القرآن بيختلف. هلا خربت علينا لا ما أو فتحت علينا موضوع جديد.
Shaykh Albani rahimahullah said, you have opened for us another subject.
ما بعرف عندك شهادات زي ما كنت. ما بديش أخوض الموضوع كثير. خلينا نركز الموضوع البحث. لا راح يبقى الصبح. لا مش محضر نفس النقاش.
المحكم في القرآن ما هو مثلا؟
He said, okay, let me just now start another way now. You've said muhkam. Those verses that are clear in the Quran, they are muhkam. Give me a reason. Give me an example of what you mean by muhkam then in the Quran. Give me a verse that is clear.
كمثال عندك ممكن تجاوب على هذا السؤال.
Can you answer this question? So the Hizb at-Tahreer number 3, he said, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. This is clear. Say He's Allah the One. That's muhkam. Nobody differs on that, according to the Hizb at-Tahreer number 3. Shaykh Albani said, did they differ over this verse or not? According to my knowledge, he said they didn't differ. Hizb at-Tahreer number 3 said, according to my knowledge, they didn't differ over this verse. Shaykh Albani said, yes, they did differ. Because there are groups out there, they say we follow Qur'an and Sunnah, Sahih. But even those clear verses, you find them sometimes deviating away from those clear verses and not taking them. And Qul Huwallahu Ahad is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's beautiful names, affirming His beautiful names. How many groups now have not affirmed Allah's beautiful names and attributes? There are groups who have deviated away from affirming Allah's beautiful names and attributes. From those that clearly went astray, and to the extent that some scholars say are not even Muslim, the Jahmiyyah, they denied the names and attributes of Allah. They denied them. As for another group, the Mu'tazila, they affirmed Allah's names, but not according to the way of Ahl Sunnah, according to their aql, according to their intellect. So those names that their intellect understood and accepted, they agreed to take them as points of belief. Those names they didn't go with them intellect, they rejected them or they changed the meaning of them. So Shaykh Albani rahimahullah said, even on these verses, clear verses, you find some groups, they have deviated away from these clear verses. So Shaykh Albani says, I ask you again, did they differ or not regarding these clear verses? So the brother, he asked, he said, what do you mean, the Muslims? He says, who am I asking you about? So Shaykh Albani rahimahullah said, after the Hizb at-Tahreer number 3 said, Allahu Samad. They didn't differ over that. Shaykh Albani rahimahullah said, yes, they did. You find some said that they affirmed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahu Samad, as we know, it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's the eternal, the absolute, the one that all of His creation are in need of Him, and He is not in need of them to exist, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a Samad. All of His creation are in need of Him to exist. But Allah is not in need of anyone to be a Samad, to be al-Hayy, to be al-Qayyum. Because He is al-Hayy, the all-living. And al-Qayyum, the self-subsisting. not in need of anyone, but we are in need of Allah. Allahul Ghani wa antumul fuqara. Allah is rich, not in need of anyone, but we are the one who are destitute, in need, poor. We are the one who needs the aid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So yes, there are some groups who did not they differed over the meaning of as-samad. There's groups that differed. Is it to do with his essence or is it to do with his attributes? They differed. Some of them said this, some of them said that.
صفات الله موضوع تاريخ دخلنا والشعب له ما جاوبتني. نعم سألتك يعني ما في شيء غريب. بقول لك ندخل في الشعب.
He said, you didn't answer me, and this is in accordance with your what I know about you. You didn't bring anything strange.
طويل. مسألة الصمد اسم ذات مثل الله ولا صفة من الصفات.
So he asked him, I'm asking you now, since you brought the word as-samad, قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد, is as-samad, is it a name from his essence? Yani a name to do with his essence, just like Allah is a name? Or is it a sifa? Is it an attribute from his attributes? So in the end, the Hizb at-Tahreer number 3, he said, yeah, they did differ. They did differ over even those clear verses. Some of the groups have differed over the correct meaning of those clear verses. He says, Alhamdulillah, this is coming now shortcut from the long road. The fact that you agree now.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستاذ الحقيقة أمين نايف، أنا عندما طلبت منك أن تجلس معه أن تتفضل الجلوس معه، ما كان هو الهدف أن يقتنع بشيء. ولا أنا مقتنع.
So now another interjector is saying that with regards the Abu Yusr, the first Hizb at-Tahreer, when he sat with you and actually he didn't answer the question. So this interjector is saying, Shaykh Albani rahimahullah said, I have no problem sitting with anyone, but there should be a discussion-based sitting. Akhd wa rad. You take and then give. You take and then give. Until we come to a result. Such that we know the affair. The affair becomes apparent and clear.
ولذلك أنا كان في تقديري أن أبدأ بالكلام وأعرض. هو الحقيقة لما كنت أنا أرغب أن أناقش قضية العقل اللي هو حاول إنه إثار أول واحد. أنا كنت أرغب باعتبار هو راضيني عريفا للجلسة أو أميرا أن يكون بعد أن نقرأ على أساس إنه الأسس المتفق عليها اللي هي تحدد فقط إنه ذكرنا إنه ممنوع أحد يضحك، ممنوع أحد يصيح، يعني خلال كلام المتكلم الأول الثاني ما بيقاطعه والثاني هكذا. فهو إصراره إنه حتى أحس إنك أنت أردت أن تجره إلى بحث.
He said the reason why Abu Yusr, the first Hizb at-Tahreer, didn't really want to answer you. He thought that you were trying to push him towards a particular direction.
وهذه في تصور عند الأستاذ عنده إنك أنت تحاول أن تجر الذي يناقشك إلى بحث أنت تريده هو لا يريده.
To direct him to a discussion that you want, but he himself didn't want. Shaykh Albani rahimahullah said, why doesn't he want this discussion to discuss this? The foundation of our deen, where we go back to. Why doesn't he want to discuss this? Which is the fundamental of our deen, foundation of our deen. He said, am I asking him to go and talk about menses? Or to talk about other aspects of the fiqh issues? I'm asking to talk about the foundation of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is our research that we want to take him towards. To discuss the foundation from the fundamentals of this deen. Whoever doesn't believe in these foundations and these fundamentals, then he is a disbeliever and he has left Islam. And we don't really have that ability to sit with that kind of person who shows that rejection. That's why I said to Abu Yusr, Hizb at-Tahreer number 1, I said to him, do you have any doubt? Afillahi shakkun? Do you have any doubt in Allah? As Allah says, if you differ amongst yourselves, then refer back to Allah and His Rasul. Simple. A verse that no one will disagree upon. Why is it he didn't want to answer? Why he didn't want to agree with this verse openly in front of us? And the interjector, who is from his side, he said that he wanted you to mention the conditions of this sitting. Yani, before we discuss anything, he wanted you to mention the conditions as an introduction. So, second thing, the interjector says, I want to mention some of the things that he mentions, but I know that this is his methodology. Would you allow me to say them things? Yani, those things that he himself, he hoped would come out in this discussion. Now he's saying, I'm going to tell you what he is upon. So I'm going to put these to you, O Shaykh. Would you allow me to say these things? That this Hizb at-Tahreer number 1, Abu Yusr, is upon? And the benefit is that we sit down discussing these matters, and that the people whom the tape will reach can also benefit from these points that he is upon, that the first one is upon. Such that the people know what your reply is to his methodology. So he, for example, in Abu Yusr's methodology, and this is the methodology, he says, that he has taken based upon the methodology of Hizb at-Tahreer, and that is to use the intellect. That's why Shaykh Albani rahimahullah calls them the Afrakh al-Mu'tazila, because the Mu'tazila, they used to use their intellect in accepting or rejecting hadith. So, just like the Mu'tazila of the past, no doubt, the same as the Mu'tazila of today, you will find them same methodology. So the interjector, he says, Abu Yusr, we know for sure that there are certain hadith he doesn't accept, and that is those ahadeeth which are called ahadeeth al-akhbar, ahadeeth that are akhbar, yani narrations that are mentioned, and he's going to now mention those, what he means by that. He said these akhbar are all lies against the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and then he's going to tell you what he accepts. And he will only accept the sunnah that has a relationship between itself and the rulings in the Sharia, the legislated rulings in the Sharia. So for example, Salah, Siyam, Zakah and Hajj, then the people are doing it, and they're not doing it as one, as two or three, they're doing it as many. Many people are praying. So because throughout generations this has reached us, they are the akhbar that we're going to accept based upon the practical application from the people from the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to now. They are the narrations we'll accept. As for other narrations, about something that's not practically practiced, then they are the ones that we reject. And so Abu Yusr has ways of either accepting, affirming narrations or rejecting narrations. So he's saying, I hope that he was going to mention this to you, and so that I can hear your reply to him. And I wanted him to reply to you, and then see if he has a reply to you based upon what you're going to say. But that didn't happen.
الحقيقة أسلوبك في الأخذ والعطاء أستاذ هو ابتداء يعني في عنده حساسية منه وأنا مع
and it didn't happen, and it may be because maybe he was sensitive towards your manner in questioning and in waiting for an answer.
طيب أنا بقول لك إذا ولو قطعت كلامك ألا أليس كان لو أن الرجل في عنده أفق واسع في العقل والتفكير والعلم.
Shaykh Albani says, if the individual though, Abu Yusr, as he claims that he's a person of intellect and he's a person who basically has a deep look into the horizon and and looking at the affairs of the Ummah and solutions, as he was claiming, if there is a person like that, wasn't he able then to basically come from my angle and use it as an opportunity to put what he wants to say? Couldn't he do that? Because he's a person supposedly of intellect, a person who look in the horizon far and wide. Couldn't he do that? Because all I did was, I started from the verse. And if you differ amongst yourselves, then take it back to Allah and His Rasul. Because it is unanimously agreed, consensus, ijma', that if the Muslims differ, that going back to Allah means to His book. Taking things back to the Rasul ﷺ means his sunnah. Wasn't he able to come from this angle to bring his point forward? He said, the interjector said, yes, he was. And that's why I tried myself with him and tell him, look, just answer the question. Since you were concerned about having this sitting in the first place, so just answer the question. Shaykh Albani said, I want to say something. It wasn't me who asked him to sit with me. He wanted to sit with me. So, as a person, you want to sit with me? I pose you questions, answer them. He said, but I didn't mention this to him. I have the right, he said, since he's come to see me, to bring to him any topic. If he wants, he won't enter or not.
أنا أقترح أن يكون بحث في هذه النقطة إن أعجبك فبها ونعمة ما أعجبك حر لأنه أنت الطالب اللقاء معي مش أنا أنت الحريص على هذا اللقاء مش أنا.
So he was the one who actually asked for this sitting. He was the one who was concerned in bringing about this sitting. It wasn't me. So when I asked him a question, if because of his concern and his desire to have a sitting, it would have been easy if he just answered it.
مع ذلك أنا ما وصلت إلى هذه النقطة وإنما كلمة سواء يا أهل الكتاب تعالوا إلى كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم ألا نعبد إلا الله.
So I didn't even ask him I didn't even discuss a topic that we differed over. I hope that we didn't differ over. I asked him, I started from a standpoint of a verse from the Qur'an which no Muslim would differ. That's what I started from. That just like where Allah said, O people of the book, Ya Ahl al-Kitab, come to an agreement between us and you, that we do not worship except one God. This is why I came from this angle.
ولا يتخذ بعضنا بعضا ولا نشرك بالله شيئا ولا يتخذ بعضنا بعضا أربابا من دون الله. بدها يبقى جواب بدها نقاش.
Does this require any discussion? No discussion is required for this because everybody agrees with it.